Yeah, it's going to be fine. Welcome to the Arcadia Roundtable. This is our 8th little gathering, I think. I'm really terrible at counting, so that could be entirely wrong. But about the 8th gathering, all of them have been brilliant. All of them have been progressively getting better and better and better. And all of you keep coming back, so thank you for that. And welcome to anybody new. I am joined, as always, by Chris Grannell and Darge Knight. Chris, how have you been this week? Not all rosy, but broadly, how have you been this week?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, sir. Busy, a little bit ill, and yeah, I managed to get a bit of gaming in, a bit of relaxing, and yeah, that's it really. Nothing more to report. I'm sure we'll get into it.
I know you required a day away from the workplace, but didn't have enough time to skull and bones with me over the course of the week. That's all I know. We'll get there soon. It's a promise. We'll get there soon. Darge, how you been this week?
Yeah, been alright.
Have you?
I beat Death Stranding, innit, since the last show. So I finally beat one of the greatest games I've ever played. But yeah, I beat that. Obviously, we're going to talk about Dragon's Dogma. Yeah, Death Stranding, man, such a good game. But yeah, other than that, I lost my driving license, so there's that. But yeah, other than that, it's just been another week of carnage. But yeah, happy to be here as always.
As always, Replicant's just signed up. Replicant's one of our founding members who doesn't need to sign up at all. He's got all of the perks of the channel forever and ever and ever. But there he is anyway. So much appreciated again, Replicant, for your many months that you've been a member. So, Darge, you said you've been playing Death Stranding. You said you finished Death Stranding. You said it's one of the best games you've ever played. So tell me what makes it one of the best games you've ever played, and tell me what else is up there on that kind of tier for you.
You know what? Obviously, when Death Stranding came out, I was balls deep in the Xbox sausage of just slagging everything and anything, and Xbox having nothing. And there's all the FedEx simulator, walking sim, this, that, and the other. And then obviously, like over the last few weeks, every time I speak about it, the walking is a thing. The world is a thing, which I find gets more rewarding as you go. But the story in that game, I spoke to Mo Kwama, who you know, and Chris knows as well, and he was just like, what a game. And it is like, obviously it depends if you can stomach the open world delivery sort of segments in between and the sort of sense of discovery in that world, the things that you unlock that aid you along the way. I would fully recommend anyone to stick with it, because the story, I mean, some of the heartstrings that were pulled at the end, I mean, you know, Replicants, just, you'll see it come up in a minute, but like, I'm not a big Kojima early Metal Gear 1 and 2 and Silent Hill. And that was it. That was it. And then he got a little bit crazy. You know, I played a little bit of Phantom Pain and remember the whole fucking, you know, straitjacket, mad stuff that was going on. And And this one on the outside, you know, babies in jars on your chest and all this crazy stuff. And there's really, really, really good story in there. And now I look, put it this way. Yeah, you've known me. You've both known me.
I need to check. So he'd gone too crazy for you with Phantom Pain, but now babies on the chest, like bringing it back down to reality. Now
what I'm saying is, when I was doing the Phantom Pain, I was still like entrenched in.
Jobbers carrying babies around London.
I was like when the Phantom Pain come out, I was still entrenched in Xbox glory. Well, not glory, but I was entrenched in it, and I didn't give it the benefit of the doubt. You know, it's made me want to go back to Phantom Pain. You know, because of the way he tells the story, even though it's absolutely mental. Getting to the end of it is just so rewarding, like, and so good. And put it this way, yeah, you both know me for a long time, and I said to Replicant, and I said to a few people in our Discord, like, basically, if DS2 ain't day and date on PC, and even if it was console exclusive for a year, I think I may have to buy a PlayStation, because even though I could get a better version on the PC, I don't think I could wait a year to carry on that story. Do you know what I mean? I loved it, man. I took my L's and everything. Like, I'll gas about that game now forever. I mean, like I say, when you're first ones that come to mind, it's like back in the day ones like Soul Reavers and Bioshock and these stories, you know, people say about Bioshock all the time, you know, with that sort of thing at the ending where it all comes together at the end. And it's kind of like what happens here with Death Stranding. Don't get me wrong, Kojima does some mad shit. Like, there's a bit where credits start rolling and you think it's the end. And then there's 2 more chapters. Like, he does. Like, I can imagine that.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I can imagine with this Death Stranding, people probably hit this title screen where you're just endlessly walking on a beach and probably just turned the game off and didn't get the true ending, you know. But, you know, if you can deal with the open world and the traveling about, I'd recommend it's a story definitely worth seeing what you make of it, you know what I mean? But not everything's for everyone. But yeah, I loved it.
I'm still planning to get on it, Chris. Are there any games that you hold in that kind of regard, where if there were a sequel, you would get it on console if you needed to?
So, I mean, it's no secret that I'm a Red Dead Redemption 2 fan. Obviously, I've been hoping and waiting for Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2 to. Well, I mean, I wanted the first one to be made in the new engine, and then it just become this epic singular game. Obviously, don't think that's going to happen, or Rockstar will just ruin my dreams and convert to mobile version or something, something like that. So, tends to be. I mean, like your Red Dead and your GTA. I know it's like an easy kind of cop out, but they're the 2 games which are like the 2 series. Sorry, which I always just go all in on. So I played Red Dead Redemption 2 from start to finish. Literally hundreds of hours playing through it, doing loads of side quests, you name it. And it was the same with like the GTA series over the years. I haven't done anything mental and like gone back to, as much as like I loved Vice City and things like that. If you look at it, the kind of horrible mobile version and even the original version is just like carnage. It's proper rose tinted specs. I mean, to be fair, I don't know if I'm just becoming a miserable old man or something like that, but I don't think I'd buy a console for anything. I think I'm kind of in that. I mean, in that frame of mind where I just like play stuff when I can. Obviously, I know everyone's has different, varying levels of being busy and stuff like that. But I am genuinely like busy constantly, and it's like I just feel sometimes it's like last night I had that opportunity to game. I basically threw a throw over me on the sofa and just watched telly. You know what I mean? It was just like couldn't be arsed.
It's like that.
So yeah, so I don't think I'd rush out and buy a console for anything nowadays. But obviously, having spoken to Darge about Death Stranding and stuff like that, I totally get like why you would and where he's at. And to be honest, I kind of miss. I mean, maybe when things calm down with work and stuff, I'll get back to that. Actually given a lot of time to a game. Saying that, I've given quite a lot of time to Skull and Bones or whatever, but it's very kind of haphazard at the minute. Whereas your Red Deads and your GTAs and stuff, I would just night after night after night after night. It doesn't matter. Like nothing's getting in the way of it.
So does that include, and I'm asking this because obviously it plays into the broader conversation around the value of exclusives and the direction that various companies are or aren't taking them, but are you planning to play Grand Theft Auto 6 on console? Or are you going to wait the year or whatever it needs?
Yeah, because, I mean, I've got console, so I'll play it on console because it's not really coming to PC, or it won't come to PC for
not that soon,
a year or whatever. I think it's just a bad decision. I don't, and obviously they can. I guess they feel they can get more money on console, or maybe try and entice Sony or Microsoft to some type of marketing deal or
marketing
deal. So yeah, I'll definitely pick that up on console. Obviously, what console? Who knows? Will it be a handheld? Will it be a PS5 Pro? Will it be a...
I think as well, like with a console thing of what I'm saying is like obviously nowadays there's not so much exclusivity, like console exclusivity. Obviously you've got your Final Fantasies, so there would have been people who would have bought a PlayStation and just played a remake of Final Fantasy VII. Obviously, I know that Sony games will come, yeah, but I think it's just because of how raw it is since I got invested in that story that like. If I had to wait a year and know that people have played it and possible can see leaks and stuff, I can't deal with that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? And like with the GTA 6, I mean, where Chris is saying there, like, don't understand why it will wait to come to the PC. But knowing Rockstar, they'll probably leave it on the console for a year. When they get that PC port ready in 18 months, they'll probably re-release like the sort of like remastered edition with, you know, all bells and whistles including, and resell it to the console people because they'll probably sell that game about 3 or 4 times over, you know. But hopefully that ain't the case. Hopefully Death Stranding 2 does come to PC day one, published by Sony.
To be able to play the games you want where you want them. But so Chris, we're going to get onto what you've been playing in a second, but I've got a couple of super chats I just want to grab. So thank you, Replicant, for the super chat for saying Darge's Peak Kojima. You obviously responded to that one at the time to acknowledge that you are madly in love. Gamsley is asking you a question, Darge, and you can choose whether you answer it truthfully, fancifully, whether you have a little cry off camera, or what you want to say. He says, please tell me how you lost your license.
Speeding. Just like everything. I'm just 100 miles an hour, just running about like a lunatic. But you shouldn't speed, so don't speed.
Wait, running about like a lunatic? You got it on foot? That's amazing. I'm impressed, clearly. So fanciful was the outcome. I have a question for both of you. Which one of you introduced the other one to the word carnage? Who's the source?
I don't know, actually.
I know, I wouldn't want to take... I've used carnage for a while, but...
Yeah, I think it's quite a...
It's an infectious word, though. Once it starts getting thrown batted about, carnage, you notice people sort of... It sticks to people, and then it gets used as a term. It's quality. I love it.
You're absolutely right. It does, and I've started. It's like creeping its way into my vocabulary, and I'm just wondering which one of you started that whole thing, because one of you definitely did. Thank you. I like your name.
Yeah.
It's obviously when you're in a posh location, you have to use the word canage, just to ensure you don't offend too many individuals.
Yeah, or it goes to America and it's the canage. I think that's true. I think they say that one right. So let's get into what you've been playing, Chris. I know you've had a busy week, but just Skull and Bones?
Yeah, I mean, don't ask me. It's just Skull and Bones at the minute. So yeah, just continuing this end game, really. So it's all about the pieces of 8 and upgrading the ship and whatnot at the moment. So, but I haven't quite got as much. I think I've played for one day this week. So yeah, missed out on a bit of gaming, but yeah, still playing that. Did a bit of the character builder on Dragon's Dogma 2, but I was just playing around with it to see what it's like. And I was going to jump on Dragon's Dogma 2, but part of me is kind of waiting for this like first patch to come out or something, maybe just stabilize frame rates or whatever. But I'll see. I know Darge was saying it tanks in a certain town and stuff, so I know they've got like a lot of AI processes going on.
To fix.
Yeah. So I might just leave it and continue to play Skull and Bones for a bit.
Fair enough. Pete, thank you again for another gifted membership. Tom's picked out. Tom's already a member through Patreon as well. We do have options for everyone. All of these memberships, all of the Patreon things and things like that, they get you access to the Discord server we keep on talking about, which is 99.9% awesome, with a slim chance that there's still one arsehole in there. And I'm not talking about Gamsley. I'm really not. So we had a little incident, didn't we, Darge?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. But you know, I mean, what can you do? The internet, we know what we're up against. There's you know, if the internet was such a tranquil, beautiful place, we wouldn't see some of the shit that we see on Twitter these days. You know what I mean? So, it is what it is, mate. You know, we move.
So let's go on to our topics for the week, because the first one, you were just talking a little bit about Dragon's Dogma 2 there, Chris. Obviously, you haven't got your teeth into it yet. You just had a little play with the character creator. Darge, you've spent a bit more time with it. Give me your first impressions. Give me the 60-second Darge review.
I'd have to tread carefully because Gamsley's here and he's been defending that game like he's woman all over socials for the whole weekend. But listen, I played the first one recently, and I said to Gamsley, obviously, it just felt dated for its time. Not to say that it wasn't unique in what it was doing, but like for me personally, when I was putting it down, I was like, right, obviously I knew there was a sequel coming, and I said, hopefully they build on this foundation that they put in the first game, because obviously if I'd have played it at the time, you know, I'd have appreciated it a lot more, you know.
Darge.
Yeah.
I don't reckon you were going to do this anyway, but the first thing that came up in chat is no spoilers with an exclamation mark. So when you do your little talk into this, obviously every game that we talk about, we avoid the spoilers, but be real careful.
Yeah, and with regards to spoilers in this game so far as I'm concerned, a spoiler for me, so you'll have to respond in chat. A spoiler for me would be me telling you story beats of the game, you know, stuff from the story, stuff that would spoil it that way. If we're going to talk about the world, you know, and the sandbox and the things that we can do, it's not really a spoiler, so to speak. But you stipulate what you want and you don't want, otherwise you're going to really tie my hands with this, you know. So anyway, yeah. So I hope they build on it with a second, and they have. And do you know what? For obviously Digital Foundry, Gamers Nexus, you know, Chris has linked me to both of those videos this week, and I've watched them. Obviously, people, you know, these people obviously test all the time, as you know, Asa, and they said there's like frame timings issues more on the higher end CPU things, that they're not fully utilizing them or optimized enough, you know. So the game is doing a lot. Yeah, let's give it its due. It's got the processing for your main character. It's got the processing for your pawn. It's also doing processing for the two fellows if they're friends of yours, or regardless who they are, because they have to take data back with them when they go back to their owners, you know, so to speak. Then you've got all the NPCs. There's a lot going on. You've got obviously the monsters in the world and everything else. So it's doing a lot of work, and you know, I'll give it its due. And like what I find is, even though I've been complaining in the Discord about the main area that you end up in and the tank in there, I'm still playing it. I'm still enjoying it, and it's not like I'm still playing it where I'm playing it through gritted teeth. It's unfortunate, but it's not deterring me from playing the game. And once you get out of that area to go on a quest, which are usually sort of outside that area, you notice, obviously, in those Digital Foundry videos and that, like the GPU starts picking back up once you get out of those heavy CPU areas. And then you come back up on your frame rate and everything's fine. And like I say, if you've been paying attention to social media, one thing that I'm really enjoying is like seeing people posting encounters that they're having and the things that they're learning. And like it, when these things happen in like social media spaces, like trending videos or a trending topic, you know, like YouTube Shorts or TikToks or things like that, seeing that sort of stuff can drive engagement, because people are like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to, like the guy falling from like fucking 1,000 feet in the air and getting caught by his pawn, you know, it's doing a lot and it's really ambitious. And I really hope, like, obviously, when you said about the patching, Chris, sorry, said about the first patch. I mean, obviously, Capcom came out and it, like, put a list out of listening to the community and things that they said, and the CPU sort of gear was right at the bottom, if not, they know that's going to be a lot of work. So they're going to try and tidy up some of the other loose endy bits. And, but I think it's like we were saying game of the year contender before touching it, and now we're touching it, and it's like, it's still game of the year contender for me. Hopefully they iron out this CPU utilization and optimization, but it's really good.
You've done something wrong when Steve at Gamers Nexus is running an episode on your game. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. He don't usually do it, does he?
No, not at all. Has anyone had Dragon's Plague yet? Or
Don't tell me that. That's spoiler territory. I hate that this kind of stuff is going around social media. I've been trying my hardest to avoid it, but so I don't know what it is. Fortunately enough, not had it. I see people talk about it and how dreadful it is, or how they don't appreciate the mechanic, and I blunt it from my brain like I just did then, like, as a reaction where I just like brain eject. Whatever you just said, I don't know. Where are we? What's the day today?
I won't go into detail, but I'm glad I know about it because for various reasons.
I don't even. There was another, just quickly jumping back in, because I will gas about this game bad, because I'm really liking it. I don't know. So basically, there's a quest that I had to go on to pick up particular items that would assist me later in the game. I did that first, took them back, done what I had to do, moved on further in the game, and sort of changed my vocation, and started hitting a bit of a wall with it, and I kept dying. So I thought, no, this ain't the one for me. I'm going to go back to what I was. In order to do that, I was sort of save tracked. So I went back to the last inn saved, and it took me before I got the items. Long story short, I went back to get them, and one of the items wasn't in the cave at all. But Satama from Discord, I was like, I was doing my nut about it. He went, that's all right, because I'm using one of his pawns. He went, I'll send the pawn over with the item, and you'll get it that way. So it's another cool little thing that the game does, like you can gift people things and help people along the journey. Obviously, we got a whole, channel dedicated to it in our Discord, and it's popping off. Everyone seems to be really loving the game. So yeah, it's good to see.
There's a couple of quirks, isn't it? Save mechanic is not great because it's like one save slot. But it is what it is.
I typically really like that in games for there to only be one save slot. I like it when games force you to live with the consequences of your actions, and it's a controversial choice that a lot of people don't like. A lot of people prefer to be able to go back and like work their way around things that didn't play out the way they expected or the way that they want. But for me, and I'm not certain that Dragon's Dogma particularly forces me to embrace my own decisions, because I am quite chaotic and a lot of things do happen, and it's fairly generous when I do end up dying. But I've wanted, ever since the first Fable, I've wanted games to force you to commit to your decisions more so, because I remember the original Fable on the Xbox had this quest where you're like, you go and retrieve something for someone, but along the way you learn that actually it belonged to somebody else in the first place, and it gives you a fairly clear choice on where you're supposed to like return this item. And the way that it plays out is almost everybody will deliver it to one person, see the outcome, load their previous save, deliver it to the other person and see the outcome. And then if they need to go back, if they preferred the other favourable outcome, then they load it up and do that. I would much prefer that kind of scenario to be forced on you. So whatever the outcome of your decision is, you made that decision, so live with it. And that, I think, can be very compelling in a game. Dragon's Dogma is a little bit controversial. We'll get onto the microtransactions and stuff in a bit, but one of the reasons that everything that they're doing is under a quite intense spotlight is there are questions around how much of the game's design is driven around what's best for the game, and how much of the game's design is driven around what they could sell later, which is not necessarily a fair question, but it's an inevitable one because some of the things that are being sold on the store. So now that I've led into that, I guess we're getting straight into the microtransactions bit of it. Darge, have they bothered you at all in your playthrough? Have you seen them? Are you even aware of them?
No, so obviously I had an issue with my code, didn't I, for the midnight launch. So I slept on it, woke up, and then saw the outrage. Do you know what I mean? I saw the capital city CPU stuff. I saw the microtransactions, and Like, look, at the end of the day, you know, whether you like the answer or not, like, I don't have a lot of time. And I said this in Discord, like, I am the type of person who, if I've got 2.5 hours a night to game and an option is offered to me to pay £5 to get 10 fast travel stones, let's just call them for argument's sake, and they will help me get around the map and get more done in my playtime, I will do that. Now, what they did wrong, yeah, which they've addressed straight away, is they were crafty and they listed all the microtransactions, but they didn't list or explain what was available in-game, how available it was in-game, you know, whether it was special, whether it was this, whether it was that. So they were just a list of items. And obviously, you know what it's like with social media. People see that, flew off the other end, went mental. And, you know, obviously ACG's lot and all that, like, they was just saying, once you get into the world, a lot of the items in the microtransaction are easily distributed to you. Do you know what I mean? But you have to manage them. Do you know what I mean? If you're just zipping around the place like me, trying to just go here, there, don't get me wrong. The beauty of the game, if you've got the time, the beauty of the game is walk, explore. Yeah, because round any corner you could have a random encounter. That's what the game's built for. But obviously, like I say, if it's me and I want to push on, I can fast travel about. So I'm not like, you know, I won't condone microtransactions, yeah, but I will condone them for circumstance like my own. But what I won't condone is the fact that they did not specify, you know, whether or not they're in-game, their rarity, you know, this, that, and the other. Because like I say, the fast travel thing, like when people was going, oh, they're putting fast travel behind a paywall, as soon as you go in the game, you've got the options. It becomes available to you straight away. Do you know what I mean? Fairly straight away. And then it's, you know, like I say, we're sort of hampered a little bit here where certain people don't want spoilers and I can't really go into it. But Dogma, not specifying, you know, whether these were readily available in the world or not, it's just a quick cash grab. Like, do you know what I mean? Of the things that I have seen, obviously, look, microtransactions are microtransactions. Do you know what I mean? Like they did this like apparently they did this 2 weeks after Resident Evil 2 remake came out. You know, and there was no the sky's falling. You know what I mean? Obviously, the reason it happened this time is because it was literally the minute the game went live, they posted the DLC, and they got to get clapped for that. You know, because it's just piss poor timing.
I'd say the timing there is better than the Resident Evil timing in a sense, in that it's more upfront and more honest, because they took a little bit too much stick for supposedly hiding these microtransactions, but they didn't actually hide them. They included them in every Well, everybody that got a review key also got guidance on the review, and the guidance specifically said what the microtransactions were, which from Capcom's perspective is the most that they can do, because they can't sell those things before the game is live. So rather than trying to blindside people and release these on launch day or release them after the reviews have come out, they told them very openly and very candidly, these are the microtransactions, and people chose to ignore the guidance on it, which is that's not to defend the microtransactions themselves. I kind of hate them. And the thing that you said there about like the strength of the game, the biggest strength of it, being able to explore and have shit happen as you go, and just like find things in the world, go on an adventure, try and get from point A to point B, and things happen along the way. The director of the game specifically said, like, we don't really want lots of fast travel. You don't need fast travel so long as you make traversal fun within the world. Then that can be like a key component of the game. And if it weren't for these microtransactions, you'd play Dragon's Dogma 2, and the same was true for the first one. You'd play it, and you'd absolutely believe everything that he said. But because you have the option to pay money to kind of skip that bit, you have to question from the outside, like, is it designed because this is what you believe for the game itself? Did the design direction come before the commercial element, or was the commercials in mind when you figured out, like, along the way in the design process? And nobody wants to see games designed around microtransactions. But then the other issue is that even if Capcom are on the level, even if Dragon's Dogma 2 is a brilliant game and the microtransactions were really added after the fact and don't do any harm or whatever else, it does set like a pretty strong example for other publishers to follow, because they're not all nice. They're not all going to go, well, let's design the game honest, integrity, all the rest of it, and then we'll see what we can monetize afterwards. Most of them are going to say, let's see what we can monetize and build a game around it. Chris, Not so much specific to Dragon's Dogma, and I think it's fair to say we've already like lost any resistance against microtransactions. But broadly, what is your opinion and your take on microtransactions and single player games and all the rest of it?
I mean, I'm not really bothered. I mean, it's probably going to be the shortest answer ever. I just think there's more things to worry about in life than microtransactions in games, and I think as long as you can, grind or work towards something, which quite a few people came out and said this microtransaction wasn't as powerful as people thought it was, and it was in this part of the game. And I mean, I bought the deluxe edition, so I think there's about 4 or 5 microtransactions that I get as part of the deluxe edition anyway, including like the jail key and whatever else. But yeah, I think I'm either less interested in my old age or more mellow in my old age. But I just think if you want to pay to speed up the process of a game, you can, and you've got money. And if you don't want to pay, don't pay, as long as you can still get access to it. I think obviously we're in a generation now where, and I get there's kind of like you get a free game on mobile and it might have in-app purchases, which are effectively microtransactions, but you can buy games on mobile which have still got in-app purchases. So I think there's a generation which is kind of used to it, and I think unfortunately that's going to mean that publishers will try and squeeze every bit of revenue they can out of a product because people need to make money, and everyone keeps saying, support the devs and whatever else for the last 5 years, but not when it comes to microtransactions. So I get why some people are against them. I think for me, I'm just not that arsed. I think on the save thing, because obviously we moved on from that. I totally agree with you. So like Red Dead Redemption 2 has that type of consequence in it, and you choose to go down a light path or a dark path, and so on and so forth. So I really like those type of like forced interactions and directions and stuff, consequences. The issue I've got with Dragon's Dogma is that its autosave system is not that intelligent. So I've obviously read a few articles and seen a few videos and things where people have been traversing and then it kind of got higher than they should have got. And then it kind of auto-saved because it was like you're in a dangerous position. They obviously fell, it loaded the autosave, and then it put them in an invisible wall blocked area. And they had to kind of like kill themselves and load up the in save, which was obviously like 2 hours prior, and kind of lost 2 hours of gameplay and stuff. So I think I agree with you. I think consequences are good in games if the game narrative's right, if the story's right. I haven't got an issue with that. And I think an autosave or one save slot is fine as long as the game's intelligent enough to kind of understand where to autosave. And I think going into kind of potential dangerous areas and stuff, I believe it autosaves before like larger fights and things like that. But obviously traversal autosaving and things like that can be a bit of a problem. I'm sure it'll just be
kind of
patched,
explains. But... So the game has a tooltip in it that confused me, because the tooltip says like the autosave isn't reliable. Make sure that you also save it in the inn. So that led me to believe, while I was playing it and I was streaming it, so people know this happened, that led me to believe that those are your choices. You've got autosave and you've got save at the inn. So I was walking around in the wilderness without an inn for like 100 miles, and I didn't think I could get out the game because there's no. I was just like, I don't know. It turns out you can go into the menu and save it. It's so the autosave and the out in the wilderness saves are presumably over the same slot, overwriting each other, and the inns are safe. But I didn't know that. I was like, I can't save it whenever I want.
But I think because. Yeah, and I think because you've got that, because the one save slot is, as you said, the autosave and the manual save just shares one save slot. Obviously, if they unreliable or the bug or the dodgy system they've created decides to kind of autosave over your manual, but it's, as I say, it's on a traversal or it's on something mad, and then it kind of reloads and goes, well, you weren't supposed to be here, so we're going to invisible wall it. Then I think, that becomes a problem if you lose a couple of hours or whatever. But as I say, things like that can be hopefully patched and just tweaked a little bit or whatever. But I haven't got a problem with like a consequence save or one save. So you can live by
explains that for me. The microtransactions, I still hate them, and I will always hate them. Even though I'm well aware that I don't need to buy these optional extras in there. Stephen Southwick said in there that he doesn't mind optional microtransactions and doesn't know why people care. But for me, it just takes away something from the game when you're encouraged to spend money instead of play, and it shouldn't make a difference. I should be like, I can look at this from a distance and say clearly, logically, the correct answer for me is to play the game. But the suggestion that there's a different, more efficient way, if I just like spend some money, does have a psychological impact. It just it nags and it takes away my enjoyment in that moment. So I hate them in that sense. But I've also mellowed in that I do accept them as part and parcel of the industry now. There's no getting away from it. If we wanted to piss and moan, we had to do it with horse armor when it all started, like 20 years ago, whatever it was. Too late now. They're in there, and it's not a battle that we can win. And I'm not about to refuse to play Dragon's Dogma in protest. So no one mentioned WoW's exactly replicant. We were talking today about World of Warcraft's level up tokens. I hate that kind of shit. I hate games that just like give you little incentives to spend rather than play. No, playing's the whole point of the game, but they're there and they annoy me. So I'll always be like that, and I'll always complain. Go on, Darge.
I was just going to say, like, and obviously it's circumstantial, isn't it? Like, you got your stance, and your stance is you shouldn't be offered the opportunity to pay, you know what I mean, to skip or, you know, things that can be earned in world. And then my stance is I don't have a lot of time. So if you give me the option, but I think we can both agree, that the most important thing is whatever they're selling you, is either unique to the game, not paid to win, but cosmetic wise, whatever, or it's, you know, it is accessible in the world. It's not something that cannot be redeemed in the world. And like I say to you, in regards to Dragon's Dogma that I have seen, the things that they are selling you would seem that it's more inclined to appeal to someone like me or someone else who hasn't got the time. You know, it's not a shaming thing. There's boys in the Discord who nearly got 40 hours in the game, you know, and it come out on Friday. And then there's me who I feel like I've played it a lot and I've got just over 20. But the fact of the matter is, I won't keep pace, So I will do what I choose to do, you know, because like I said, support the devs, and everyone seems to have a level of outrage about anything. But I think the outrage should be saved for a game that's gonna charge you for something that should be in the base game. You know, they've built a game here, everything's there for you, but if you choose, you haven't got the time, you can buy so many fast travel items.
That's outrageous, Darge. I'm going to be more upset on your behalf, though, because for me, if someone hasn't got time to play a game and you're designing it, you're a game designer, you're making a game and you're trying to figure out how to cater to someone that doesn't have enough time for the systems you're putting in, charging them money should never be... Like, it's not the correct way to cater for someone without time.
But then what I'm saying is then that falls on me, So the dev is designing the game. They don't care about your time. They're saying to you, like, not in a disrespectful way. I'm saying how long it takes you. Well, you know, it could take me. They'd be happy with me playing the base game for a year and then beating it without spending any money. But what I'm saying is the option for someone like me is, I'm grateful for that option, because the fucking backlogs now are a joke, and I don't want to have to put this game down. Like I say, you see how I am, like I'm not flush, but I don't mind. Like, you know, I haven't bought any microtransactions yet, but best believe if some of the boys are right further in, I don't want to start falling behind, and there's other stuff I want to get on with. So what I'm saying is options are okay, It's down to us as human beings to decide if we can afford them or not. Like I say, gambling mechanics, for example, like FIFA, they're a completely different ballgame. You know, you know what you're getting.
If I was designing it, and I was thinking, if I'm like these designers and commercial people that have established, they've recognized this need to provide options for people to catch up or to spend less time on their game. They've identified the problem, and you're looking for a solution. I wouldn't make money part of that solution. I would just, like Dragon's Dogma, and it's a bad example because I've not explored the fast travel stuff, but we'll use it anyway because we're talking about it. you could stick something in the options menu that says like play with fast travel. Warning, like this is detrimental to the game. It's not how it's intended to be played. But if you haven't got a lot of time, you can enable this. You can take some shortcuts.
I was just going to say the thing is, no. Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying is just quickly. Go on.
No, I was just going to say the issue is it wouldn't be your call. It would be some commercial person's call, and
I know.
You'd have to go. You'd have to go indie to make sure that doesn't happen.
I haven't actually looked. Obviously, people in the Discord and that will know, but I haven't looked. We're taking this based upon the store page on Steam, or whatever, where you can purchase these microtransactions. Yeah, but the game in world, like I say, they're easily discoverable. You can discover them, but you can also buy them from vendors. Yeah, and they're like this game. I don't know how you're finding it yet, but it just chucks gold at you left, right. Like I've always got a lot of gold. Things do cost money, but what I'm saying is, I don't think these particular fast travel items are overly priced as well. So we're sitting here having this conversation about me getting my hand in my pocket and spending my actual cash, but I'm not even thinking about the fact that I could just buy them in the game, and then the game has organically given me the option to make up time without spending my money. So look, we could argue the toss about it all day long. You know what I mean? But I don't think this is egregious what they're doing. You know what I mean? I think there's ways around it. You either have the real shortcut of spending your own cash. You either earn them in game, or you just don't even do it and just play the game through.
Yeah, and the other side of it, obviously, like Chris says, you're absolutely right. It's all commercial. Like the people making the design decisions don't necessarily get that much say in what they're doing around these transactions. But there's also like they're releasing this game to an audience that are very, very stubborn about the price of it. So they've got a kind of cap on what they can sell it for. They've got an audience that's not necessarily growing, and you can see that the industry is strained in terms of. Some people are going to hate that I say this because obviously publishers are very, very greedy and making a lot of money, but that is the conditions that they work in. They are strained. They do have to make that money for their shareholders. So they're going to squeeze whatever the hell they can out of it. And microtransactions are not going anywhere. I get it. I understand. I still don't like them.
The thing is with Capcom, FTW said in the Discord the other day, I think, that Capcom's fiscal year ends fairly soon. So, like, with regards to the certain CPU limitations in certain areas and that, they were saying, like, it could have just been a case where they, like you say, everyone's got someone to answer to, and they got to answer to the shareholders. So if they go to the shareholders, we're having a bit of trouble with the CPU, like, we might have to just do a bit, and then they go, no, it's going out. Because Capcom have got, to my knowledge, a fairly quiet year this year. I mean, I think they've got this, Path of the Goddess. So is Resident Evil 9 this year? I don't think it is it?
Not even announced yet, but...
well, either way, so they got quite. So obviously, targets have to be met, as Chris would attest to. Targets have to be met. When the suits say no, CD Projekt Red, Cyberpunk, that's got to go out now in this state. And it's unfortunate, but it is the machine.
Chronix just said that shareholders are ruining innovation. We'll talk a little bit. Shareholders are relevant to some of the Xbox conversations that we're going to have as well. But I want to just, because I haven't said enough about the game itself. And my experience of Dragon's Dogma 2 so far has been absolutely freaking brilliant. I haven't got to the areas with the performance dips particularly. That's not to say I've not had any. I've got a fairly nice PC, but it's definitely struggled in places already, and I've not got to the known difficult areas. But the game is freaking awesome because I can throw anything at anything, and that's all I need. I'm just running around like, there's an enemy, pick it up and chuck it. There's a barrel, pick it up and chuck it. There's a rock, pick it up and chuck it. There's a friend, pick them up and chuck them. And that's so simple. And it just keeps me entertained for so many hours. But it's all very dynamic. There's just so much like happening all the time. And I've got my little pawns with me. So I'm playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And that game is like love-hate for me. I love Final Fantasy VII, and I love the game when it's in flow. But there's so much of it that's like a Ubisoft adventure, and it's all dictated by this horrible character called Chadley. So to make myself feel better, I recreated Chadley over in Dragon's Dogma, and he walks around with me as my little mage companion. And my mage companion in Dragon's Dogma is so fucking cool that now when I go back to Final Fantasy, I'm like, oh, go on then, Chadley, I'll go to your stupid map markers because we're friends now. It's working out really well for me. Dragon's Dogma has fixed Final Fantasy. That and just taking time out from that game to swap between them has been excellent. So I'm loving it a lot. I didn't actually know. Stephen Chamberlain says that you have to be online to play. Was it Stephen Chamberlain? I might have the wrong name. You have to be online to play it on console. Is that right? A bit unusual. That doesn't.
Stephen Chamberlain.
I might have the wrong name because I missed it.
Sorry,
it might have been
Stephen
Southwick.
Stephen
Sorry,
Southwick.
Stephen.
Yeah, I didn't know about the online, but I mean, it would. It's always connected, isn't it? The game. I know it's like, we can sit here and go, it's always, but obviously when you're
don't have
using
gold, though,
someone
or like core.
I don't know about the Xbox Carnage. Like, I don't know about it. But what I'm saying is, obviously, where you're using, say, for example, in our Discord server, I'm using Satama's Pong. So when the Pong goes back to him, if I've uncovered something that he doesn't know, the Pong will go to him. Oh, on a previous travel the other side of the rift, we found this chest over here. And it's really clever. Like, obviously, there must be some sort of networking involved in that to send all this data about and stuff like that. So if it is an always online game, that is unfortunate. But I think if you play the game, it is doing unique things. I think this game, like, I know you might be able to argue with me. I haven't played everything in the world, you know what I mean? But it feels very unique, this game, and I think that's what a lot of people are getting fun at, like so much enjoyment out of it,
So the online features are good, and I would highly recommend anyone that's playing it enables them and plays with them on, because they are additive and they do make it better. It is weird that the offline mode is available on PC and it's not available on consoles, especially as consoles are the harder platform to cheat on anyway.
Tom just, sorry to cut in, Tom just said he plays on Xbox. Yeah. Thanks, Tom.
Cool, there we go. False alarm, everything's good there. Let's talk about what should we go on to next? I want to talk about the Marvel 1943 game before we get onto the Xbox bit, which is kind of some of the stuff that Phil Spencer has been saying today has caught me off guard. Actually, it surprised me. But before we get to that, let's talk about Marvel 1943 Rise of Hydra. Darge, shut up, I'm talking to Chris. Chris, have you seen this trailer for Marvel Rise of Hydra?
I've seen the trailer, yeah. I haven't really gone into much detail about, obviously, UE5, isn't it? Obviously, trailer looked awesome. I haven't really delved into much about, obviously, the gameplay and stuff like that, but yeah, it looks fantastic.
So, when you were working for Sony, did your path cross with Amy Hennig at all?
No, I don't think so.
Fair enough. So she's behind it. It's Skydance Interactive, I think, that are making it. Obviously for Marvel and for Bandai Namco. It's an Unreal Engine 5.4 game with a very impressive trailer that is running in real time for what a lot of people believe was CGI, because the presentation of it is very cinematic, very movie-like. Yeah. But they did confirm it's running in real time on Unreal Engine 5.4. They didn't confirm what kind of hardware it's running on or whether it's going to look anything like this when it actually comes out. But it is very, very impressive in a lot of ways. What's your... See, I don't typically like Marvel very much at the moment as a setting and all the rest of it, because there's been so much of it and the quality has kind of diminished over the years. But this one is going back to 1943, which is a very different setting to most of the other Marvel properties around. Does it interest you setting-wise, scenario-wise, 1943, fighting the Nazis, fighting Hydra? Is that a good thing?
Yeah, I think that element, it's just, I'm a bit with Joe. I'm with you. It's kind of, I'm a little bit, kind of full of kind of current Marvel stuff. So the fact that they're giving it a slightly different setting, going back to Hydra, obviously quite got a soft spot for Captain America and stuff, because a lot of it was filmed in Liverpool, where I'm from, down at the docks and stuff like that. So it's always, and Manchester as well. So it's kind of nice to see these places. So I think going back to that setting is quite good. Like, I always struggle that all of these characters are not the actors. I think that's the disconnect for me.
Yeah.
Is that I'm just kind of like, who the hell is that? Who's that? It's kind of like, certainly for the UK, it's like Home Bargains or B&M Captain America.
They get away with it's like, it's a different Black Panther though, right? Like, by canon,
Yeah, it's
not going to be Chadwick because it's 1943.
Yeah, of course. But obviously, everyone just knows Captain America is Captain America. It's like hard.
You're not wrong. It was that was a massive problem for the Avengers game that Crystal Dynamics put out. But part of it was because that game was maligned for other reasons. People just hated what they did with the setup of it. Whereas you've got the Midnight Suns game and the Guardians of the Galaxy game. Guardians of the Galaxy in particular, it had the same kind of skepticism leveled at it because it, like, everyone had anti-Marvel games at that point in time, and it did a lot wrong in its trailers. But once you actually played that one and found most of the characters in Guardians of the Galaxy are actually at least on a par with or better than their movie counterparts.
Yeah.
It got forgiven in that one. So this one's got hope, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever play it? Guardians of the Galaxy was so good. Such a good game.
It's one of those where I like the set, and obviously, we're starting to, and just on a slight caveat or whatever, the whole reason Sony are looking at a PS5 Pro and stuff is because of these kind of UE5 games coming out. They want consistent frame rate. You only have to look at Rise of the Ronin's getting ripped apart in performance mode running at 1080p and stuff like that, and you have people crying out on social that GTA 6 is going to run a 4K 60 and stuff like that. We just live in a insanely unrealistic world, and you look at exclusives that aren't even pushing that are pushing the hardware too much, but not even getting anywhere close to some previous generation resolution sets and things like that. And we've got, I think, if you look across like the PC space, there's a lot of this kind of like body cam game mechanic coming out, across UE5, and whether it's a tactical game or a horror game, or I think there's obviously some mechanics and there's some features with the UE5 where you can create that kind of body cam look and feel quite easily, and it looks really realistic with obviously the lighting and texture and so on and so forth. So obviously it's great to see more and more games using a really decent engine. Hopefully we kind of move away from some of the old kind of micro stuttering and the requirement to kind of like preload textures and things like that. That's obviously reportedly got away. And I think it's like anything. It just looked like it looked like a Blizzard movie or something like that. Where they did a World of Warcraft movie. I like to see gameplay and see what are we actually doing? How does it feel? How does it play? When you're actually in game and stuff like that. But excited by it. Excited in the same way that I'm excited by Wolverine. I know it's going to be Spider-Man with Wolverine, but the fighting mechanics in Spider-Man just work so well as a single-player game. In the same way that Batman, the original Batmans, the Arkhams and stuff worked really well. So yeah, excited to see what they've done, and at least they've put it in a slightly different era.
Speaking of the Marvel fatigue, though, there is a Marvel game being announced tomorrow, which I'm going to guess is probably Iron Man from EA, but they haven't actually said. So we'll see if that fatigue still holds true when there's another big one announced tomorrow.
Is that going to be like Anthem? Are they just going to reuse Anthem features and stuff?
I kind of hope so, to an extent.
Yeah. The flying stuff.
Definitely not the meta game, but some of the rest of it. Darge, you've seen this trailer, haven't you? What did you make of it?
I just saw it then. I mean, Amy Hennig, people go, oh, Uncharted, and this, that, and the other. For me, she's like Legacy of Kain, and we'll have to see. Like I say, with the people in here saying about Marvel fatigue and all that, I'm kind of like in that, like for me, Marvel, the comics and everything is a bigger US. Not to say it's not global before everyone gets defensive, but that whole American comic book store, we didn't have any of that here. So when the Iron Man, we knew of the characters, you know what I'm saying? But the Robert Downey Jr. stuff and all that kicked off, and Endgame and Infinity War, and it was all good. And then, I'm getting a little bit fatigued with it all now, But like you say, different setting, different time period. I mean, it's Second World War. I actually love Second World War anyway. So, UE5, it does look a look. I mean, apparently, did they say that was in engine? That trailer it was captured in engine, right? Yeah. So, like Chris says, you know, the UE5 is going to push gaming onto another level with regards to what we're seeing and all that. I'll play it. Do you know what I mean? I'll play anything. It looks like from the trailer that it looks like it's kind of going to be you're going to play as Cap 1 minute, then you're going to play as Black Panther, and then they're going to come together, and then they're probably enemies, but then they become friends and whatever.
It's sad though, isn't it? You can look at them and see the plot through like this far in advance.
Yeah, well, it's just this storybook plot, isn't it? But it is that standard. But like you said about Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy, it still hurts me that game, you know, was deemed by Square as a failure because it's such a good game. I got so much enjoyment out of it, and like people say about the combat in game was a bit like trivial and stale.
It wasn't a strong point.
No, but I think obviously this is subjective. Like everyone's different, but for me, again, like the story beats of that game. Every time you played for a bit, the story it was a really good story, and there was twists and turns in that at the end, and it was a really good story. So listen, you know, I give anything a go. It's going to be a good looker, and hopefully the story's captivating. You know. But I don't like that Captain America model that they're using that game. It looks like the fake one from the Falcon Winter Soldier TV show. But yeah, we'll see. I'll play it.
Apparently, Luke still was just saying in chat, by the way, Luke, you've got guest access to our Discord. You should have a look in there. It's a good place.
Get in there.
Get in there. He said that the one that's announced tomorrow is not Iron Man. It's a 6v6 hero shooter kind of game, Overwatch style Marvel game from NetEase, which like I hope not. I believe it, but nobody wants that, do they? Nobody wants that.
Well, nobody wants Overwatch, do they? Apart from Tony.
Plenty of people did. Yeah. That just sounds like I don't know, a terrible concept, but also one that I'm kind of surprised isn't already out there. It seems inevitable, even if it's already disappointing ahead of its announcement. Anyway, speaking of disappointing, let's talk about Xbox. That's a bit harsh, actually. But Chris, really, I didn't know about any of this until right beforehand. Before the show started, you pointed me to an interview that Phil Spencer did with Polygon, and I'd seen bits and pieces clipped from it, but I hadn't seen the whole thing. Do you, by any chance, want to lead with some stuff? Tell us what you found from this interview and break it down, and we'll react shot. Hang on, I'm preparing my shocked face as you say these things, because I was genuinely shocked.
No, yeah, so I mean, the big thing that everyone's picking up on is the fact that, you know, Microsoft, Xbox, or whatever are looking or hinting at bringing some of the PC style stores to Xbox ecosystem or consoles.
And that's actually still almost as genuine as it was the first time you mentioned it. Like.
So obviously, and you know, I mean, it's nice to see positive reactions in gaming, you know, rather than negative and stuff. So it obviously the idea. I'm not saying this is, you know, confirmed, but the idea of like Steam and Epic Game Store and things like that coming to Xbox has got a lot of people, like a lot of people excited on Twitter, following on from this interview. And quite a few people are running with the story. It kind of ties in. So I was replying to Gav on Twitter because Gav Stevens. So kind of ties in with what we spoke about a couple of episodes ago, where I think we were talking about, you know, Microsoft and Xbox potentially going to go down a different hardware route. I think, you know, they'll decouple from AMD. Joe, you only have to look at kind of some of the. This is not like me bashing AMD or whatever, but this is just talking about like some of the technologies and stuff. So you look at Rise of the Ronin, and it really suffers from like a bad implementation of FSR. You know, it's not really up to standard when it comes to, you know, things like DLSS 3 when done properly. And part of me genuinely thinks, and this is what we touched upon last time, I genuinely think, you know, Xbox will be having conversations and looking down the route of like, right, let's let's look at our kind of hardware model and specs, and whether that's Intel and Intel Arc, or whether it's a kind of Intel, Nvidia on their own, whatever it may be. But part of me thinks the way of differentiating the new Xbox console model as they move forward is giving access to things like Steam. Actually, Valve, let's have Steam on our ecosystem. It's on PC, as we know. Let's have Epic. Let's have these game stores on. Let's even create our own PC game store, potentially. Sony are talking about releasing their own PC game store. Who knows, whatever. But I think if they can almost kind of turn future Xbox consoles to run on Windows, whether people like that or not, but with a Xbox kind of front end, almost kind of like a Valve big screen or large screen, whatever the hell it was called. Big screen it was, wasn't it? Where you would turn...
Steam big screen, big picture.
Yeah, big picture, sorry, yeah. So with that type of mode, which like simplifies, because obviously there's talk about simplifying Windows handheld models moving forward to make them a bit more friendly, don't rely on Armory Crate or, the proprietary kind of front end, which is a bit clunky, make like a really nice front end. It would allow them, if it was effectively a kind of home mini PC running on a PC operating system, then you would quite easily be able to have those stores on those models without going, oh, Valve, could you make your special version of us? And we need to make sure we convert all these games and they all run and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of thing I would be exploring. And it wouldn't surprise me if they look at doing something like that to kind of open it up to all of these models. And then you would get Ubisoft Plus, you would get kind of EA. You wouldn't necessarily have to rely on Game Pass on its own.
So for me, the reason that I do that short face, the stuff that Phil Spencer has been saying is twofold, and the bit that I had seen clips of was in responding to the obvious stuff about Xbox games going to other platforms, and him talking about what he wants Xbox to be in terms of being synonymous with where you play good games rather than being like tied to a platform and all the rest of it, acknowledging that people don't necessarily like the approach of them putting games on other platforms, but saying that everything that they're doing is to make Xbox stronger and all the rest of it, things that you'd expect. That side of it, I look at that and I can understand that. I can see merit in both approaches, in putting games multi-platform or in pushing the more traditional kind of console model and all the rest of it. Normally, I can look at the discussions that are ongoing and very clearly see like the pros and cons of each side of it, and not necessarily know where they're going to fall. But for me, when he starts talking about bringing other platforms onto Xbox, like the console hardware, that seems like he's lost the plot to me. I don't see how that's good for Microsoft. I can see how it's good for consumers. I can see how we as end users, like, that's brilliant. Open systems are the best as far as I'm concerned. I love playing on PC for that reason. I love that I can go to Steam or Epic or GOG or whatever other store. But it goes so far against being a platform holder that I don't understand why Phil is like entertaining the notion whatsoever. Darge, what's your take on all of this?
You know what? It's all like, obviously, this news, Chris brought this news to us like not too long before we went live, and I skimmed through the article, and the first thing that came in my head was handhelds. Yeah, so I thought, okay, maybe they'd make a handheld, but have Steam, Epic integration in the device. So if you because what is the point if they're gonna, like you just said then, what is the point of them having the Steam store within their device? Yeah, the whole store, like purchasing. Yeah, if they could strike up a deal whereby, because obviously the games all play on the similar architectures and all that. So if the deal was they want Steam on Xbox, i.e., you can buy an Xbox console to play your Steam library, yeah, then that ain't so wild to me. But if you've got a Steam library, obviously the common consensus and thought is you've got a PC. You've got a PC that will perform better than a console, But then obviously there's the other side of the coin where some people might still be playing at 1080, not quite afford the jump in PC. It's also, it's a little bit mad. But like I say, the first thing I thought was handhelds. I thought, maybe they're going to bring a new piece of hardware to market try and have Steam, Epic, the other one, was it HIO, have these sort of baked into it, their storefronts, if you will. But it's more just a portable handheld where you can play more than just Xbox and Xbox Game Pass games. But maybe it might not even be that. You know what I mean? Like it was a bit out of the blue. I'm sort of with you with, if you're in last place, only in the console space, yeah? When I say last place, I mean in the console space. Obviously, I know there's a bigger
on toast, are they, over at Microsoft?
Yeah, it's a bigger picture as well. But it's like I just don't understand how competing storefronts on your box is attractive.
Well,
this is what I don't get. So let's take for example Dragon's Dogma 2. How much did you pay for it on Steam?
Full price.
No, how much you didn't, did you? I mean,
no, but I get.
Realistically,
I paid 58 quid or whatever I paid for the deluxe edition. Or
so it's already cheaper than the Xbox version, right? So Steam is available on your Xbox, and Microsoft are trying to sell you Dragon's Dogma 2. They'll get 30% if you buy it on the Xbox. If you choose to buy the cheaper version of the same game on Steam on your Xbox console, Microsoft gets 0% of that. I do not I understand from my perspective that means I get a cheaper game and it's better for me as a consumer. I encourage it and support it for my own benefit, but I don't know I do not understand what Microsoft are doing.
I was just going to say, Patrick in the chat said straight away, like, if they do that, Microsoft are going after the keys, to bring the keys out of it. And I said, like, Microsoft have been okay with keys for a long time. Like they're not that this move won't be based.
Keys for
you can get keys. Like Sony are the ones who you can't get keys. I mean that Dragon's Dogma fucking giveaway. I'm so grateful the fucking PlayStation owner didn't want that game, but you can't. This is not key based. This is why it doesn't make sense. If you've got competing storefronts with competing differing slices of the pie that you get. How does it make sense? If you've got Steam storefront and you've got Xbox storefront, you're bound to get the game cheaper on Steam and Microsoft get less. So, like I say, all I'm thinking is maybe when he's saying about having different stores coming in, maybe not the stores so much, but the libraries. Like you say, you've got competing sub-services like Ubisoft Plus, which is that's on Xbox now, isn't it? Not the premium tier, but there's Ubisoft incentives in Game Pass. There's EA Play.
If you get the premium tier on PC, you get it across your Xbox.
So you got your EA Play benefit as well in the subscription tiers. Yeah. So the only subscription service you ain't really got is PlayStation. Yeah, PS Plus. As far as I sort of understand it, I can't really think of anyone else. So. On the library side of things, maybe if they open up the console space to PC launcher libraries, that would be a really good move. But obviously, we're taking this as stores, and I think that'd just be too mindfucky. Like if you've got 3 different if you've got Epic, I mean, Epic Game is whatever it is, you know what I mean? But if you've got Steam and you've got Xbox on one box.
Yeah, but we have now. Like it's like I've got Game Pass on my PC. I've got Epic on my PC. I've got UB Plus on my PC. I've got Steam on my PC.
But the point of them,
there's exclusive. There's some exclusives on Epic Games, and But I think it's different. I think it's a different argument. What Phil and Microsoft and Xbox are saying is that when you start to delve into the article, the console sales are slowing down. Yeah, it doesn't matter that Xbox is in last place. PlayStation sales are well below where they should be. 50 million consoles is not where PlayStation are used to, not where Sony are used to, servicing. And they're not even like bringing games out at the minute. They're bringing remasters out and they're tapping into the PC space and stuff. So are they not preaching? I totally agree with you. I think the handheld model. My ROG Ally has got a front end on it, and I can launch straight into Steam. I can launch into Ubi. I can launch into Xbox, and that makes sense, But in the article, he talks about like the Gen Z, and he talks about when you delve in and you start to dig into what that generation wants. that generation is used to having a TV with 4 or 5 different streaming services on. And yes, I appreciate that there's exclusive content across those, but there are deals being had, like Samsung allowing those kind of apps on, and Sky having the apps on and stuff like that. There's subscriptions through those services, and there's a kickback. I think Xbox could be playing there. Actually, if we create a box where you play everything, so if we could give everyone at home who's into games a PC that was decent enough, it had all the stores on, they take the catalog over, and we basically go, look, we're all about play whatever you want where you want it, and we're going to give you a box to do that. And then you start going, actually, this box is shit hot, and I've still got my Xbox library on it, but I can dabble in Steam and I can do that. And who knows what deals are made? It could be, it could be a way of saying, actually, we're going to pull Steam across here. There could be kind of platform percentages. So, like when you're a platform holder, obviously you get a percentage, as Asa was saying. So I think there's a bigger picture of kind of actually someone with a dedicated exclusive console. That market's dwindling. Gen Z is going, actually, we're used to just being able to play what we want on whatever we've got. And in the article, it goes on, some people have Android, some people have iOS, but you can play Fortnite on both of them. There's just a different way of thinking about it.
I think you've hit it bang on as well, Chris, just cutting in, because I'm remembering the article, and one of the main central points of Phil talking about all of this stuff was, he said about how everything's stagnating, and what can we do to break down the barriers of what can be done. So, as fucking mental as it sounds for us, and that's me just a minute ago, even contemplating the thought of differing storefronts or, differing launchers and this, that and the other, like what Chris just said then, maybe this is, it seems alien to us to think like it, but maybe this is the approach they're going to take. Maybe the approach they're going to take is to bring digital libraries from all sorts. Maybe they'll integrate NVIDIA fucking GeForce now into it, like an all-in-one box like the Xbox One, but just not dog shit, and however you play, wherever your libraries are, that's the appeal of the box now, because obviously exclusive content is sort of going to go out the window in next gen. Like PC day and date launches are going to be more of a thing on the Sony side of things, I believe. And maybe there'll be less console, third-party console exclusivity. So maybe this is the outside-the-box thinking. Like I say, I know you're going to come in, Asa, but, it does sound mental, but maybe sometimes we need a little bit of mental to change it up,
Yeah, I think a few people, just before Asa jumps in, I think like a few people have gone, and they do tend to do this, it's like Microsoft tend to be first on trying these things or doing these things. I think on occasion they've been a bit early.
Yeah.
With the whole Xbox One, thing, years back and stuff like that. They're kind of a bit early on things, but you can't just kind of sit there and go, you know what, we'll just stay in last place. We'll just see what happens. And don't forget, they're going to do a big bash at some point and go, here's all your Activision games on Game Pass. Go and fucking knock yourself out or whatever.
On that point there, just quickly, Asa, I will let you talk. Just on that point, I've said for a little while now, you're 100% bang on, and you know it as well, Asa. Microsoft are usually the first to innovate or have to dip their toe in the water. The Western publishers they've acquired now, they will have less fear than they have done before. Now it's kind of we're going to shape the industry, because we have locked in, the software will sell. They've got Call of Duty, they've got King, they've got the mobile, so now they will have a less reluctant approach to, making innovative moves. So yeah, we'll see what happens, mate.
So,
but go on.
For me, like most of what was said there, I can totally understand from the perspective of Microsoft putting their software and services elsewhere. All right, putting Xbox onto iPhone and Android and all the rest of it, putting Xbox onto PC, like it's obviously on PC, but putting Xbox onto Samsung TV, all of that, pushing Xbox anywhere and everywhere has always made sense. I've always said that Microsoft will fight and claw and make sure that they're a relevant platform, and wherever they are pushing it, the purpose will be that they're like making money, but they're not going to give up being a platform holder. They want to be essentially a storefront and a subscription service in as many places as possible, because then everything, whether they're making it or not, is essentially going through them and they're getting money. Inviting other storefronts and services directly onto like some hardware it runs entirely counter to that approach. It gives up being a platform holder. It says you don't need your money to go through us anymore. Maybe we'll make some money on hardware now. In an era when hardware is declining, that would be like an absurd approach to say we're going to focus on making profitable hardware. It doesn't seem like it would make any sense. But the thing that does maybe make a little bit of sense to me is that they are desperate for these same terms to be applied to Apple and Android. So potentially it is giving up, like consoles are declining, Game Pass hasn't been spreading like they want, cloud hasn't spread like they want, so maybe they're willing to shoot themselves in the foot because some of the bullets are going to hit Apple and Android as well. That's literally the only way that I can see this being like a move that makes any sense to me, because they are very much pushing for the duopoly on phones to break down. Phones are a massive part of gaming in the future. They've already got EU regulators on their side. We know that Epic and Microsoft are getting stores onto phones through that avenue. I can only see them using the console to strengthen their own position on that being like the correct way to run hardware and platforms and services going forwards. I'm really struggling to see how it makes sense otherwise. It's weird.
It's mad. It's a mad one. We'll see how it plays out though.
That we might. Or he might have actually just completely gone off the deep end and he might not be there anymore. Like maybe they're like, "Whoa, this is the first we've heard of this. See you later."
Well, that's a bit of a poison kiss to leave if you're going to step down with, if that's his intentions, or if he's going to get fired, to leave a story like that out there. Do you know what I mean? Like, I have to just say, maybe he is the master. Maybe this is the master stroke. We'll have to see.
Yeah. I don't need to understand it. I'll just, like you say, sit back and wait and see what happens. Let's do, because we have run through most of the topics and times, I think we're going to skip over the Jim Ryan bobblehead, because we don't need to talk about that so much, do we? And let's move on to some of the questions that we've had from our beloved Gaming Arcadia community. So if you haven't already got them in, there is a Q&A box on YouTube. You can stick some questions in there. We'll get to a few. I think there are already some on Discord as well. So Isla, if you are available, could you pop up? While that's coming, JJ's just said that this strategy of Microsoft would help with future acquisitions as well. Yeah, generally, if Microsoft already think they've won and they're going to advance to the point that they are with Windows, where they have to be very, very careful about how they compete, then that's it. But they definitely, I don't know, I don't think they've got that far yet. Yeah, I don't know. Darge, sing us a song while we wait for the first question.
Did you
want to touch
on bubbles?
On Chris String, yeah. So part of that overlaps with this, right? Because part of, in fact, so Chris String is a journalist for GameIndustry.biz with some ties to Sony that Chris is very aware of. And he came out. He said a couple of things this week. One of them is he's been at GDC, the Game Developers Conference, and he's heard from a significant publisher that released a big game at some point last year that they were dissatisfied with it. Yeah, well, I'd be surprised if it was Baldur's Gate, because they seem amicable, but it could be Square. Yeah, someone has said that they don't understand why they bother releasing games for Xbox, because it is a sales graveyard. And also he said that there's evidence that Microsoft had de-emphasized Game Pass. So Chris, tell me a little bit about Chris String, this is his name, isn't it? Christopher Dring. Tell me a bit about his angle and what he's getting out here. Is there substance to the things that he's saying?
I mean, no one knows. I mean, ultimately, he said he was at GDC. You know, one publisher said that, you know, you could make an educated guess, as we just did then. So you just look at who's doesn't really release anything on Xbox. I mean, the slow. If we say like Square, they are slowly starting to release stuff back on Xbox, and um, it's a weird one because it only ever really seems to report on negative either UK physical sales, or kind of negative news when it comes to Xbox. So a lot of people kind of struggle with his take. Obviously, he's a well represented individual in the industry. I think he's been in games industry to biz 17 years, something like that, 18 years. But he was obviously MCV before that, and obviously in my time at Sony, MCV and Sony were very close. It was they were a big kind of publication to get on side. There was kind of lots of attending launch parties and exclusive get-togethers at Sony. He's really close to Jim. As I say, he's had many kind of interviews with Jim. And I just think it's it's potentially a little bit of a if you're not kind of brave enough to come out and go, do you know what? EA have said this, and it's like big news. It's a real kick in the teeth for everything that Xbox have been doing. This is terrible, but it was like a clip from a podcast. There was a bit of like, trust me, bro. There was no kind of backing up of who it was. It was just like substantial. And then you have the usual thing that happens where, VG, whatever,
VGC,
the usual suspects, coming out then and going, multiple publishers don't want to release on Xbox, and all this kind of like media. Oh, let's get our clicks. And when you click through to the article, there's 78 different adverts, and we've just made a load of money.
It's also it's worth noting as well. So he's at GDC talking to game developers, and whoever has been saying these things, if indeed they have, he's also said various people have been saying they don't understand why there's a PlayStation 5 Pro coming and all the rest of it. But in all of these cases, the people that he's talking to, they may really be saying these things, but they're not speaking with the authority of a publisher. So when people are saying they're like Square Enix are incapable of introspection, there's people within Square Enix, there's probably a bunch of them that look at this stuff that they say like, oh, we're so disappointed by the sales of absolutely everything, and they probably die a little bit inside when they read it as well. So this could be people that, they're just making conversation with someone on the ground level at GDC. So it's definitely getting blown up.
Exactly. You look at who goes to GDC as well. Sorry, so you look at who goes. It's like I've had a load of mates over there, and it's not to say they're not like the insignificant members, but the members of a development team. The kind of lead, head of. They're not kind of the CEO or the shareholder or the public face. And we've all been to developer conferences, and you chew the fat. You just have a chat. You have your own opinion. You have a beer. You have some lunch. You have some. And if it was this big kind of like super important, it's the voice and the opinion of, as you said, the whole publisher, then come out and say who it is. Come out and say who your source is. Come out and name the individual, name the position, name the. It was just. It seemed like it seemed a bit of a cheap shot, which a lot of kind of media picked up on because it was gamesindustry.biz, and that's the problem. And I mean, it was even pushed as him as an individual. It wasn't even pushed as like gamesindustry.biz said this. It was like him on a podcast or whatever. So, I mean, it's worth touching upon, but I think it's. Yeah, there's a little bit of a different background where if people get into the Discord, they can find these little nuggets of information out.
So Replicant's just said in there that it's hearsay basically, which does sum it up. It absolutely is, but that doesn't mean there's no truth to it, does it? Do you think? I mean, I wouldn't say we've seen evidence of it being true. There's not a lot of big publishers skipping Xbox up to this point, but do you think there's a risk of that coming to pass in the near future?
I don't think so, right? I mean, Xbox, they got the least amount of hardware sales of the next gen, but then they got like some of the highest engagement numbers, right? So we say about Square for a start. I mean, Outriders, I think that probably done half as well as it done, purely on the fucking strength of whatever Microsoft paid to have it in Game Pass. So, listen, I see this fella all the time. I said it when it came out, like he strikes me as one of these guys who likes to fucking, poke the fire, so to speak, until he gets a little bit of kickback, and then he goes, "Whoa!" Like look at the vagueness, like I say, British journalism or anything, a source close to us said, like all these terms that you hear. Yeah, I've heard a major publisher said, "What's the point?" Like you say, well, who? Because if you ain't going to say who it is, shut the fuck up. Because it's just bollocks, as far as I'm concerned. Like, no offense, like. Geezer's been in the industry 17 years. He's played the game. He knows how it works, yeah? As far as I'm concerned, I'm a roofer. If you're in the gamesindustry.biz, yeah, if you're going to tell me something, tell me who it is, because if you're not telling me who it is, I couldn't give a fuck. And I don't. That's the brutal, that's like me going, I was at the roofing yard the other day and I overheard, and do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to open your mouth, yeah, bring some context to it.
That's
do you know what I mean?
It's
just like, if you see,
never to use lead again.
Yeah, I got on a building site and fucking geezer's telling me that he's got fucking mid 20-year-old Swedish model and he clearly ain't. You know what I mean? You're bullshitters. They're bullshit. So what I'm saying is, you can we see this on Twitter all the time. You remember these Foxy Games UK guys and all that, these little stab in the darks like, oh, Sony will have a state of play this year, trust me. Thank me later. Do you know what I mean? It's like fucking vague, like me going, it might rain tomorrow, thank me. You know what I mean? Like, I don't listen. I know the geezer's well respected. He comes up with the UK physical sale gear. Yeah, that's his jam. Yeah, he loves that. Yeah, crack on, mate. I trust his word on the sales because Geezer's been banging on that one forever. I trust he knows what he's talking about with that. This thing, will treat this.
I've heard he goes to every shop and counts the sales himself.
Probably. He looks like the kind of guy who would do that. But he's like, I'm just saying, yeah, I don't care who you are or what you are. Yeah, I have been deep entrenched in the console war at one point, not to say he is, but what I'm saying is I used to hang off of people's every words. You know what I mean, man? Get the most vaguest of stuff, out of them. And now I want context. So this guy's got the connections. He's been at GDC. Lovely. Who said it? Oh, no, I couldn't possibly say, well, shut the fuck up then, because it don't matter. Because whoever's told you it, yeah, well, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see who this major publisher is that won't put games on Xbox anymore because apparently it's a waste of time. Like I say, publishers, I can't see an install base of 50 mil units or whatever. I can't see a publisher going, that's a waste of time, though. If you put a shit game over there and no one's played it, that's your fault. Mm-hmm. That's not the 50 million install base. Like if it was Square Enix, yeah, like what certain people were saying, oh, well, it was Square. What happened with that Forspoken carnage that they whacked out? Where were they slagging off PlayStation for not supporting that mess? You know what I mean? Like, this is what I'm saying. It's all about context, Like, it don't matter what he says because whoever ultimately it is, the reason the game probably didn't sell well, it's probably because of the game, because I'm not like big pro Xbox, but at the end of the day, the stats are there. Xbox gamers are more engaging on their platform. They play more things. They do more. They spend more time there. PlayStation is largely made up with casuals, and I'm not saying it's only casuals, but I'm saying in the last... I'm not saying that, but I'm saying in the last generation, it was FIFA, it was Call of Duty marketing.
Poke the bear.
Well, you have.
I was thinking, actually, when you were chatting, then I think we need to have like a bingo card that people can print out. Because at some point on our episode, you say, I'm only a roofer. So that should get a little thing.
And I start throwing my hands back. I'm like a fucking orangutan in here. But yeah, no, look, listen, I don't care if it's Chris String, if it's Satya Nadella, if it's fucking Next Man, yeah. If they're just doing one of them vague ones, I can do them vague ones all day. If you want, I'll probably get more followers on Twitter if I start doing the vague, if you're an Xbox fan, play Close Attention in April, and everyone will go, oh, what's he know? You know what I mean? It's like... So it'll happen, Will they drop an Xbox Wire post? I go, yeah, I told you.
Do a social experiment and see what happens. I think we should.
I'm gonna.
Let's delete this episode, though, so no one knows we're doing it. Let's do a social experiment.
We'll all be ITKs. We'll all be ITKs, and we'll have a whole fucking fan base of people who fall at our feet.
June's going to be exciting for Team Green. Just put that out and just see.
If you're a fan of this, watch out in July. That's all I'm going to say.
Great. Right. I'm not going to add to that. Let's go with the question. We've got a question from Dave. Will an Xbox handheld have to be online to play your games? And will this hinder it if yes?
No.
Do you know, that's not as trivial. So it's not going to be a cloud streaming system. That would be dead if they do that, because their cloud infrastructure is not ready to support that yet. But it is an interesting question in terms of licensing. Like, actually, it's a really boring question in terms of licensing, but it is a consideration in terms of licensing, because when you have everyone knows how game sharing works on an Xbox, right? You've got a home console that works offline and only one home console that works offline. So if you're an Xbox console owner and now you've got an Xbox handheld, that is something to think about that hopefully Microsoft will consider for us, because you're going to want your handheld to be able to work offline. So does that become your home console?
I mean, to be fair, I can't. I mean, I should know this, but I don't know it because obviously I'm always connected to Wi-Fi. But yeah, I need to see what happens with my ROG Ally if it's offline. So can I launch me Steam?
That's Steam though, right? Steam has Steam lets you have multiple like home offline enabled systems, whereas consoles don't.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I mean it's a minor thing, but a little bit curious. We shall see when it inevitably appears.
If they did the handheld route, I think the best thing for them is native installs. You know, if it's an online game, then obviously it needs to be connected. But like the Steam Deck, you know, you can play offline. But then I think they should also add the cloud option in there as well. You know what I mean? Like, so when you're on the go, if you've got the Wi-Fi there and it's another game, instead of fucking downloading it on the go, you can also just game stream, you know, stuff like that. They might not even bring one out, but it would be good.
They will bring one out. They've got enough people have started spreading the word that we know it's happening. Like the people that, yeah, well, we won't go into that too much. Replicant has asked, with the success of the Steam Deck, could Valve return to their Steam Machine product, a small form factor PC running the Steam operating system? It failed 10 years ago. Steam OS is in a far better place now. Do you think Valve have any appetite to get back into that? So the Steam Machine was essentially, it was a PC, but it was running, like Replicant says, Steam OS, which is their Linux-based operating system to run games natively, which it's a situation that when these things launched, the whole Linux as a gaming machine wasn't very mature, Steam OS wasn't very mature, and compatibility with games that were broadly released for Windows was limited. But Steam Deck has been successful, and that is in a much better place now. Do you think Valve would have any appetite to release hardware in that way? Do the opposite of Microsoft and push Microsoft and Xbox out of their platform?
Maybe it's a joint partnership to get Steam on Xbox hardware, and it's a joint hardware partnership.
Well, they've got like record numbers now, Steam, haven't they? So if they're going to make any sort of moves on anything like that, surely you would think whilst the going's good, right? You know, so what's it, 36 million, I think, is the user base in it that they've got now, or something like that. So whilst the going's good, you think that they'd do stuff like that. I don't know, man. I mean, they're obviously really happy with the Steam Deck. So they're bringing out the Steam Deck 2, which they probably will be a jump in performance and everything else. So I'm hoping they expect to have even more sales on that. So maybe they're just going to do a Nintendo of sorts for now. Like you say, later down the line, who knows?
They are like Nintendo in that they work at their own pace and focus on whatever they feel like focusing on at any given point in time. So obviously I hope they just ignore everything and carry on with another VR headset, but that's just me. Steven Southwick has asked, do you think that Fable, Perfect Dark, Blade will be launch titles on the new hardware? So Xbox's new hardware, which releases is it going to align with? What's their content strategy to pair with it?
It depends. It depends, because my heart still hopes that 2026 they start the next generation early. They bring a handheld, say for example, to market, and they ride the Series X out. Obviously, we're hearing about things like machine learning, and all these other things that can sort of help, keep the gap decent between them and Sony and fucking whatever else. But I hope they're taking their medicine with this one. They've had this generation as sort of an acquisition. They've got other business sorted, and they start the next generation early. But regardless of that, I think Fable will come out. Fable will be playable on Series X. I think that will come out probably next year. I think you'll see a lot more of Fable. Actually, let me do the Chris String thing. I know you'll see more of Fable this summer. Perfect Dark, I don't know. Perfect Dark is like, it's carnage, isn't it? It's like they revealed it so early, but obviously they had the hype around the new studio and Daryl Gallagher, and then they got Crystal involved in it, and and everything else. And I kind of feel like it's time to see stuff. Like they're the two that I really want to see from there is Perfect Dark and State of Decay 3. I need something from them. You know what I mean? Gameplay wise, they got revealed a while back. Obviously, if we take Fable as a reveal with the Richard Ayoade trailer from last year, if we take that as a full sort of reveal with snippets of gameplay, I need to see more of the other two. But I mean, those games that were mentioned in that list, if they don't start the next gen in 2 years' time, then you'll definitely be seeing them soon, I would have thought, with the exception of obviously Perfect Dark, because you just don't know what's happening with it.
Yeah. So I would say, in terms of the next bit of Xbox hardware and every game that Xbox have announced so far, I would say it's still going to work on the Xbox Series S and X, regardless of whether their next gen console has released or not. So when you talk about launch aligned titles, much like we had this generation, they're not going to stop supporting like the prior hardware or current as it is at the moment for a good 2 or 3 years anyway. Obviously, they should try and release, and it's the same problem that Sony have got with the PlayStation 5 Pro. Having some showcase titles to release alongside it does matter if you want it to make any kind of splash at all, which Microsoft will need it to. But yeah, I couldn't say timing on which ones of those will align with it. Let's do, so Eradication. Why don't you start on time? Who's really to blame?
Yeah, that's another question.
It's definitely me.
Or after that.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely me. Like, which might be yeah. There's not a lot else I can say on that. So when we're late on this channel, it's my fault. I've got a poorly family who have been vomiting all over the place, and this is kind of slightly true for today. It doesn't excuse my being late every other time. But as a little known secret, if you start on time on YouTube, there won't be anyone there. So you do have to give it. You have to give it a few minutes to let people trickle in to get their alerts from YouTube and then turn up. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to be an asshole. And when we're late on a Saturday on Go Live, that's definitely not my fault. It's probably. I try and respect your time, and I apologize if you feel that I'm not. But it is my fault when we've been late so far. I will try and do better. Try and do better.
I'm going to be late on purpose from now on.
Yes,
now they're going to be late, and I will grass them up. Yeah, Eradication, jokes aside, now that Dragon's Dogma has released, what is your most anticipated game for the rest of the year and why? It's Hades 2, because Hades 1 was brilliant. And Hades 2 might not even properly release this year, because of the whole early access thing. My answer is Hades 2. I loved Hades an awful lot.
You have more than one.
No, it's the question is your most anticipated game for the rest of the year and why?
Just one
game, not games.
No, probably.
Mine's Manalords.
Yeah, I'm in between Hellblade 2 and Stalker 2, so one of them, yeah.
All about
I ain't even gonna pick one. The story of Hellblade, the world of Stalker. That's where I am.
I'm also going to cheat as well and add Avowed to the list because I'm very much looking forward to Avowed. But...
I'm going to add no Rest of the Wicked.
That's
whoa! You only get one. You can't have a second one.
Avowed's getting pushed. Trust me. All right.
Well, Hades might get pushed. Like Hades 2 is doing the whole early access thing, and I don't count the early access, as you know. So maybe Avowed is my one for this year. Getting pushed. Trust me, bro, and all the rest of it.
I've heard that you're getting gifted early access Hades 2, Asa.
Don't you dare, because I'll have to be incredibly rude and not play it until it comes out. I'm not going to let you ruin Hades for me. I think Steam lets you reject gifts anyway. I think you can just say no thanks.
Don't reject us, Asa.
Gamsley Super Chat has come through as a question. So Gamsley kindly super chatted this earlier, I think. The wording is familiar. It says, Asa, even if I had a full set of hands, I would not give you a hug. Love you guys. P.S. Dragons Dogma 2 reign supreme. Eat shit, Darge. It's not really a question.
Representing Canada, isn't he? That boy.
And the first part of it's not true. Gamzee would hug me. He would.
He wouldn't have a choice with me, would he, Asa?
He
would not. No, nobody does.
The community was full of love, and there's just a lot of pent-up aggression going on. Isn't it?
He's a very angry man. He's got a lot of anger, but yeah, that's a good question.
Thank you, Gamsley. He's very energetic. He's Gamsley, very enthusiastic, and he's on our Xbox Series podcast on Thursday. I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about most of these topics as well. So stick around for those. Let's do Black Myth. Good point, Luke. Good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, Indiana Jones looks good, but it's not replacing Hades for me. Big question from Gamsley. Oh no, we've got another Gamsley. Here we go. For the panel, have you been playing Dragon's Dogma 2? Any crazy moments so far? And if you had to take one thing from this game and apply it to any other, what would it be? Oh, I can do that. Yes, I've been playing it. Crazy moments is just how I play every game. But the one thing that I would take from this game and apply to others would be the ability to pick up and throw everything at everything. Every game needs that.
Oh, you joker. I don't know, there's quite a lot that I like. But then obviously if you could take the pawn system from Dogma, then Dogma would lose its uniqueness, you know? That's kind of what it does. But I don't know.
You can have the pawn system, that's a good answer.
Yeah, but I do like as well the fighting the monsters in this game, you know, like the scale. Obviously, I've not played Monster Hunter, so I know that it does get sort of, this is like medieval Monster Hunter, if you will. But I don't know if you can do all that climbing stuff in Monster Hunter well, but yeah, I love that. I love that stuff.
Definitely lets you ride things. It's not quite the same in the way the mechanic works, but yeah. And Chris hasn't really got into that one yet beyond the character creator, so we'll let you off that question. Let's do... two more questions if we've got them, which we might not have. We've got through a bunch so far for today. What's Earthblade? Have either of you heard of Earthblade? It's one of Luke Steele's most anticipated.
Earthblade?
And he's got good taste in games, yeah. Oh, look at that afterwards. Tony's question got censored. Uh-oh. So, right. It says, fuck. That's not censored. I don't understand. This says it's a question from Tom. Oh, Tom's question got censored. Okay, there's too many of you, and you're all too nice to kill. So out of the other two, no. I'm glossing over that one, Tom. I stick to the simulation theory questions.
I told you there's a lot of pent-up aggression in this.
This one's not aggression. He's asking us each to determine who of the other two we would fuck and who we would marry. And it makes me deeply uncomfortable to only do... no, let's just do the next question. There are no more questions.
Make it easy, yeah. You can both fuck me because everyone else does in my life. So you might as well. That's all I am. By the way, Earthblade is the next game from the Celeste team.
Oh, okay.
Celeste. Yeah, looks nice. Looks nice and fluffy and light. Like my hair.
Tom's throwing me off entirely, but we got through all of the questions that we had today, which is Awesome. So thank you everyone for coming along and asking those questions. We're going to do a little outros now, then we're going to go off. Then I'm going to eat the chili that I made that is the real reason that I was late today. Then some game time. So Chris, thank you again for having loads to say on all the topics today and generally being here. Tell everybody what you're up to and where they can find you.
Dragon's Dogma II. Didn't have much to say on that. So, I mean, like Darge knows, I'm in the middle of some big like contract stuff at the minute, so it's like absolutely sapping all of my energy, my brain time, my actual time. So hopefully I'll get through that this week and then be able to have a long bank holiday weekend. Maybe get some gaming in at some point, try and fit it in. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow will be good to me. All the contract stuff will get sorted and I can just take time off work and play games for the rest of the week. But that's not going to happen, is it? So
it might.
I need to finish off.
You gave me hope. It has to happen now.
I need to do a few things on Skull and Bones, but it kind of feels like I'm at the end game, so it's just about leveling up the ship. So I'll probably switch over to Dragon's Dogma 2 finally and crack on with that. Obviously, really appreciate everyone dropping in the questions. I think I'm catching up with more and more people on the actual Discord. I'm just remembering to kind of have it on in the background when I'm working away and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good to interact with everyone. So yeah, look forward to next week.
And Darge.
Yes, mate.
Yes, mate. Tell people where they can find you, what you're up to.
Mate. People can find me 100% all day long, apart from when I'm asleep, in the GameOn Arcadia Discord. Now, I'm more active on there than I am Twitter. But you
more active on there than you are in your day job.
I'm more active in that community than I am with my family. But yeah, you can find me there, and I would strongly recommend you get in there because it's a good time. But yeah, on Twitter at Darge Knight, and I'm probably going to end up having to buy my 4th copy of Dragon's Dogma and give it to Chris to get him involved in it. Try and pull him away from whatever he's doing and get him involved in it. But yeah, that's it. That's all I'll be playing is Dragon's Dogma and creating memes, and that's about it.
Right. Good. We appreciate having you in the Discord. It is a great place to do get in there. I'm going to be here on the YouTube channel, in the Discord. I've promised various games to various people across these different time slots. One of them is the finals. So that could happen imminently. That could be what I play after this if people are around. If not, that one will probably turn up tomorrow. Halo's still going on. This Sunday's community games I've not entirely decided, but I think we're probably due to get back in the racing seats and do some more Forza, among other things. Many games to play, many things to talk about, many shows to put on. So please stick around. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please hit the like button and you know, those things. Have a good night. It's done. Blah.